you and your mother say you're 100% certain that Mr. Webb is your child's biological father and say the only reason he's denying your baby is to save his relationship with the woman he's been with for the past 3 years. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
What happens when someone denies being the father of a child, even though a woman swears they slept together? This courtroom case is about to shock you.
Mr. Webb, you and your girlfriend say there's no chance whatsoever that you fathered the defendant's 6-month-old daughter, Majestic. You say your evidence will shock this courtroom. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
In the case of Webb versus Cole, the primary issue at hand is the paternity of 6-month-old Majestic. Cole. Mr. Webb has categorically denied being the father of Majestic, claiming that he never had any sexual relationship with Ms. Tasha Cole, the mother. He states with certainty that he did not father the child and that he has evidence that will shock the courtroom. His defense is straightforward. He asserts that the nature of his relationship with Ms. Cole was strictly platonic, and he never engaged in any form of intimacy with her. On the other hand, Ms. Cole and her mother believe that Mr. Webb is the father of the baby. They insist that he is denying paternity only to avoid confronting the reality of his actions and to save his current relationship. They claim that Mr. Webb and Ms. Cole were intimate on a specific night, April 11th, when they believe conception occurred. According to Ms. Cole, the dates line up perfectly, and her belief is rooted in her conviction that Mr. Webb is the father.
I know for a fact the dates line up, and I know he stayed with me for 2 months.
The conflict deepens as both parties present their sides. Mr. Webb maintains that he was merely a guest staying with Ms. Cole, and that they had no romantic or sexual relationship during his time there. He explains that they were simply friends, and that he stayed on the couch while Ms. Cole remained in her bedroom. Ms. Cole, however, disagrees, saying that the night of April 11th was significant because they were intimate, and that is when she believes Majestic was conceived. As the case unfolds, the tension between the two sides becomes palpable, with both parties determined to prove their version of the truth. The dispute over Majestic's paternity has far-reaching implications for both parties involved, and the court is tasked with uncovering the facts to resolve this emotional and complex case. In the case of Webb vs. Cole, both parties presented starkly different versions of events, each one claiming to have the truth on their side regarding the paternity of 6-month-old Majestic Cole. Mr. Webb's defense centers on the fact that he is absolutely certain he is not the father of Majestic. He states clearly in court that he never had sexual relations with Ms. Tasha Cole. Mr. Webb maintains that his relationship with Ms. Cole was strictly platonic and that they were simply friends. According to him, he stayed with her for a week, but only slept on the couch, not in her bedroom.
We never had sex or anything. We were just friends. We would chill out. That was it.
Mr. Webb goes further to say that he had no physical intimacy with her during that time. He claims that Ms. Cole is lying about the events and is obsessed with him. He asserts that she is simply trying to make him the father to cover up the truth and possibly protect her relationship with another man. Mr. Webb also describes how Ms. Cole tried to manipulate the situation by sending him ultrasound photos and messages implying that he was the father. He claims that she was trying to plant the idea in his mind. He even showed the court text messages where he made it clear that he didn't want to be involved and dismissed the possibility of being the father. For him, the evidence was clear. He never had sex with Ms. Cole, and any claim to the contrary was just fabricated by her. Ms. Cole's argument, in contrast, rests on the belief that Mr. Webb is the biological father of Majestic. She claims that they were intimate on a particular night, April 11th, and that conception occurred that night. She asserts that the dates surrounding the pregnancy line up with this specific date. Ms. Cole presented a calendar in court showing that her window of conception corresponds to when she claims they slept together. Additionally, she produced text messages between herself and Mr. Webb, further supporting her argument that they were intimate during that time. Ms. Cole's argument also focuses on her certainty that Mr. Webb is the father, despite any denials. From him, she insists that the timeline and physical evidence, like the ultrasound photos, make it clear that he is the father. She was so confident in her claim that she even told him that they had a child together. Despite Mr. Webb's ongoing denials, Ms. Cole remained firm in her position, arguing that he was denying his paternity to avoid responsibility. The tension in the courtroom during Webb v. Cole was palpable from the moment both parties began presenting their arguments. The case quickly escalated into a fierce and emotional exchange between Mr. Webb and Ms. Cole, with both accusing each other of dishonesty and manipulation. The drama unfolded as the witnesses and the judge struggled to maintain order in a courtroom filled with loud accusations and fiery emotions. At the heart of the drama was Mr. Webb's adamant denial that he was the father of Majestic Cole. He repeatedly told the judge, "I never had sex with her, Your Honor," even as Ms. Cole strongly countered by claiming they were intimate on April 11th, a date she believed marked the conception of her child. The two were at odds over every detail, and as the arguments grew more heated, Mr. Webb labeled Ms. Cole as crazy, calling her accusations absurd. This only fueled Ms. Cole's anger as she responded, "She's a liar, she's crazy," dismissing his denials. The courtroom descended into chaos as Ms. Cole insisted she had concrete evidence to back up her story, such as her detailed calendar and text messages. She claimed that Mr. Webb stayed with her for weeks, and that the dates lined up perfectly for the conception to have occurred when she said. Her assertions were met with fierce rebuttals from Mr. Webb, who argued that the situation was a misunderstanding. He further claimed that Ms. Cole was obsessed with him and was fabricating the entire story to hold him accountable for something that never happened. The intensity between the two was so high that the judge had to intervene multiple times to calm the situation down, saying, "Take me back to the night you believe you conceived." As the case continued, Mr. Webb shifted to questioning Ms. Cole's credibility. He told the court that she had called him in the bathroom to take a picture of him, and he accused her of using the photo to manipulate him into believing they were intimate. The audience erupted as Mr. Webb claimed that Ms. Cole posted the picture on Facebook without his consent, further intensifying the public confrontation between the two. Ms. Cole responded aggressively, accusing Mr. Webb of lying about every detail and insisting he was the father, despite his denials. In an attempt to present his side of the story, Mr. Webb emphasized that he had never stayed in Ms. Cole's bedroom, only the living room couch. Ms. Cole, furious at his claim, yelled back that he was lying and had stayed with her for much longer than he admitted. The emotional outbursts were so frequent that Judge Lake had to demand order on several occasions, urging both parties to calm down and speak one at a time. The drama reached a new level when the DNA test results were introduced as evidence. Mr. Webb was eager to prove his innocence, showing a series of text messages where Ms. Cole acknowledged that there was another potential father. The judge read the messages aloud, revealing that Ms. Cole was not sure who the father was, Mr. Webb or another man. This information shook the courtroom, and the judge questioned how Ms. Cole could be so certain of Mr. Webb's paternity if she had doubts herself. Ms. Cole's defense faltered as she admitted to the possibility of another man being the father, but she insisted that Majestic still looked like Mr. Webb. As the judge continued to question both sides, the audience was left on the edge of their seats. At one point, Mr. Webb's frustration boiled over, and he pointed out that Ms. Cole's story kept changing, which made it hard to believe her. The courtroom was charged with emotion as everyone awaited the final decision. The intense back and forth between Mr. Webb and Ms. Cole highlighted just how emotionally driven the case had become, with both parties refusing to back down from their respective versions of the truth. This was not just a legal battle, it was an emotional and personal conflict, with both parties invested in proving their side was the right one. The courtroom drama was a spectacle of fiery accusations, public outbursts, and deeply emotional moments that left the audience questioning the reality of the situation. After an emotionally charged and heated debate, the moment of truth finally arrived in the Webb versus Cole case. The courtroom was tense as Judge Lake prepared to deliver the final judgment on the paternity of 6-month-old Majestic Cole. Both parties were on edge, waiting for the verdict that would change their lives, especially for Mr. Webb, who had vehemently denied being the father throughout the case. The moment the judge spoke, the tension in the room was palpable. Judge Lake announced that after reviewing all the evidence and hearing the testimonies, the result was clear. Mr. Webb is not the father of Majestic Cole. The courtroom erupted in gasps and murmurs as the truth was revealed. Mr. Webb's relief was apparent, though he seemed to remain calm, perhaps knowing that this moment would vindicate him after enduring a series of false accusations. While Mr. Webb seemed somewhat vindicated by the decision, the reaction from Ms. Cole was one of utter disbelief and frustration. She was emotionally shaken, her face showing the weight of the moment. She had been convinced that Mr. Webb was the father and had fought hard throughout the trial to prove it. The judgment was not only a blow to her personal belief, but also to her determination to hold Mr. Webb accountable for something she had firmly believed. Ms. Cole's mother, too, appeared stunned by the outcome, as they both had been certain of Mr. Webb's paternity, despite his repeated denials. The impact of the judgment went beyond just the two parties in the courtroom. For Majestic, the judgment left a huge gap of uncertainty regarding her biological father. While the case officially ruled out Mr. Webb, the unresolved question of who Majestic's father truly was remained. This uncertainty created a lasting impact, as Ms. Cole admitted that there was another potential father, a man who had been involved around the same time. However, the confusion over the dates and the timeline meant that Majestic's paternity was still not fully resolved. The emotional fallout from the decision wasn't just about the courtroom drama, it had a direct effect on the family dynamic. Following the judgment, Judge Lake offered a piece of advice to both parties. The judge emphasized the importance of focusing on Majestic's well-being. While the paternity battle was now settled for Mr. Webb, the judge reminded Ms. Cole that the real issue at hand was the future of her child. Majestic's best interests needed to be prioritized, and this case, while emotional, was about providing clarity for the child, not just settling disputes between adults. Judge Lake urged Ms. Cole to pursue the possibility of a DNA test with the other man she believed could be Majestic's father, as the child deserved to know the truth. The judgment also had a ripple effect on the relationship between Mr. Webb and Ms. Cole. Despite being exonerated in the paternity case, Mr. Webb seemed to walk away from the situation with a sense of closure. However, Ms. Cole's emotional reaction suggested a future of ongoing tension. While Mr. Webb may have felt validated, the reality of Ms. Cole's persistent belief that he was the father created an ongoing emotional divide. This case was not just a simple paternity dispute. It exposed deep emotional issues on both sides, revealing the complexities of relationships and the consequences of accusations. While the court had made its ruling, the lasting impact on all parties, especially on Majestic, who remained at the center of this complex situation, was clear. The judgment, though definitive, only added more questions for the future. If you want more jaw-dropping courtroom stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next shocking case.